Welcome to another weekly Forex forecast. We start on the DXY on the weekly time frame, and we can see we had a bullish reversal week, but a very weak one. We ended on a wick. We discussed this low here multiple times, and we were looking for price to tap this low again and then see some form of reaction away from this low, either below for confirmation to the downside or then a reversal. We were leaning a bit more towards US dollar long plays last week already. Going down to the 4-hour time frame, we can see here we had initial impulsive reaction, but then stalled quite fast, and price started to stall here in no man's land. We did not even tap these previous highs here to the left, not even this area of interest. And we now have this low here that could act as a base. We had a small gap. The gap is closed. That was a gap because of the bank holiday in the US. But this could actually be a base, a potential base for a bull flag continuation. And so that's what I'm looking for next week. I'm looking for some form of confirmation for the next leg to the upside, potentially into these highs here to the left. But however, overall, the positioning is average at best, so we need very clear price action confirmation. It's kind of neutral. It could also just drop out from here and give us some bearish continuation below here. But as it is right now, in terms of fundamentals and what's going on in the world, I'm leaning a bit more towards US dollar long plays again for next week. Moving on to Euro US dollar on the weekly time frame, we can see it clearer here that we have a neutral week. We had a neutral week. We ended here almost on a doji, and considering the DXY is 58% made up of Euro US dollar, so we can see it here a bit more clear that we have no clear direction right now. Going down to the 4-hour time frame, we are a bit in no man's land. We can see here we had some areas we discussed before already. We had this liquidity area here, we had the gap, and we were initially looking for price to come back one more time and then form some bullish continuation in this area. Price failed to do so. Instead, it broke below and then failed again for a bearish continuation. We can see that clearer on the 1-hour time frame. We had some form of structure here, which could be a bearish continuation at that time. Instead, it broke up to the upside, and that led me to take a trade here. I took a short loss here on Friday on this pair. I took a long on this reversal candle here, and then walked straight into the washout candle the next hour. But overall, I'm neutral on this pair right now, and in this case I'm just boxing it off, right? So the easiest one then, in case we are not sure what to do, we wait for the market to show us some more clues, and right now we have these two areas which are important. And if we see a dropout here and some clear lower time frame bear flag continuation, which we can manage to this low, then I'm happy to take a short in this area. On the other hand, if we see a move to the upside, clearing this again, and then a bull flag continuation here, I would also consider a long into this area here, just retapping the high again. But overall, with leaning more towards US dollar long plays means Euro US dollar, I'm leaning a bit more towards the short play right now for overall next week. Australian dollar US dollar on the weekly time frame, we can see here we have the second very strong bearish week. We had another high test, so this is clearly selling pressure. We see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks with bearish selling pressure, but we failed to really sell off. But it looks like we finished this weekly candle on a strong body, and I'm now looking for a bearish continuation. Going to the lower time frame here on the 1-hour time frame, we are still within this bigger, a bit more messy price action here. I boxed it off here as well, this low and the highs. However, if we get clear price action we can see it clearer on the 15 minutes. We have we have here a liquidity area, we have here a small liquidity area, we have a first potential high for, ideally we see a 3-touch structure on the 15 minute which would then be big enough on the 1 hour to take a 1 hour risk entry in this area to play at least into these lows of the overall range we identified before. The same, more or less the same goes for New Zealand dollar, US dollar. On the weekly time frame, we can see a very similar picture. We have now very strong bearish pressure. We had this liquidity area, this area of interest here to the left, and we failed to break. We broke above multiple times, like over the last 3 weeks, but we failed to close on a weekly basis in that area. Instead, we see clear turnaround price action in that area. And so therefore, we look for a bearish continuation next week, going down to the 1 hour time frame. I'm looking for something similar. We are a bit better positioned than Australian dollar, US dollar. We are already below this overall a bit more complex corrective price action. We broke below once, then we retested this low here to the left, sold off aggressively again, and I'm now looking for very similar, a 15-minute very structured flag, which I then can take on the 1 hour time frame for a risk entry in this area. However, if we see on Monday already a more bearish momentum and price just breaks below, and we see then same bear flag continuation below this overall area, then I'm happy to take it below. Overall, I'm just looking for short entries on New Zealand dollar, US dollar for next week. US dollar Canadian, we were discussing that last week as well on the weekly time frame. We can see we have a very strong reversal week here. We reversed in no man's land. There's nothing really significant to the left. We did not tap this low here to the left yet, and we can see here we have a very strong bullish momentum week, but we can also see these kind of weeks they retrace fairly fast as well. So going to the 1 hour time frame, we had a nice trade here. I took this trade early last week on Monday. I was looking for the last leg to the downside, was a bit higher risk trade, got very lucky with closing it because I'm trading Asia session, so I closed it before going to bed, and apparently it was almost a low. So that was a nice surprise. Right now I'm looking for a bearish continuation. I know we have a very bullish momentum week, but then also considering with Israel and Iran, then the potential bullish pressure on oil, which would support the Canadian dollar as well. And we can see price really is respecting structure fairly well in this pair, and we had here an initial, we tapped into this liquidity area here to the left. We had this V-shaped recovery, a very small gap here, and price retested that fairly impulsively with the 1, 2, 3, and then we had an impulsive first leg, and I was looking for a bearish continuation in this area. We did not get a continuation. Instead, price got one more time back up and retested it. This could be a V-shaped recovery for then the next sell-off. However, when we discussed or we saw the weekly time frame, it could also be a bullish continuation. So right now I'm also a bit neutral. I'm leaning more towards a short in that area here, retesting these failed structures. But on the other hand, if we see price forming a 3-touch on the 1 hour time frame, retesting the same structure, that would mean we are still in a bullish momentum run. So we would take the signal from the market and then consider entering along in this area here. However, if we see a break with momentum of this level, or even below here, if we don't get an entry here, but we get the second continuation in this area, then I'm more than happy to take a second continuation here, which would give the sell more weight actually. Moving on to Euro Canadian on the weekly time frame, we are here. We have this on and off multiple time already. We have this significant value area here to the left. We left this gap here. We had a few weeks which looked like we get some bearish pressure. We had here as well quite a lot of bearish pressure, similar to what we saw here on before on Australian dollar, US dollar, and we failed to continue. Instead, we had bearish pressure and closed with bullish weeks, and now it seems like momentum to the upside is stepping in this area. So however, looking on the lower time frame on structure, we can see here we have this area of interest here, a liquidity area, and we had a 1, 2, 3. We finished this structure, and now we have a clear V-shaped recovery and some bearish reaction in this area. So even though overall I'm leaning more towards a long play, the lower time frame, the 4-hour, still a weighted time frame, 4-hour price action gives me some bearish vibes right now. So I'm looking for price to give us more clues, so preferably breaking below this area here. We can see it on the 1-hour time frame a bit clearer, breaking below this area, forming a bear flag continuation. I'm happy to take a short in this area in terms of we finished the 1, 2, 3 on the 4-hour time frame. We came back up one more time, tap the high one more time, and then get after this V-shaped recovery, get the next leg to the downside. However, if similar to the previous pair we discussed before, if we see here, let me go back to the 1-hour time frame, if we see deliberate stalling of price, if price starts to stall in this area and starting to form a deliberate bull flag continuation in that area, a structured, at least a 1-hour structured flag, then yeah, we know there is more room to the upside. Euro New Zealand dollar on the weekly time frame, we tapped the high to the left, but we are in a very clear bullish momentum run here as well. And looking on the 4-hour time frame, we don't have this clear structure like we have with Euro Canadian dollar. Here we are looking more for a bullish continuation because we are already trading above all these highs here, and we actually closed the week above these highs. The last 4-hour candle, that's Friday evening close, is hard to say, but we can see here on the 1-hour time frame we have a 1, 2, 3. That's the first. This leg is a bit smaller than the first one, so I'm looking for Monday to finish this continuation. I'm going here to the 15 minutes, and we can see here we have a small liquidity area. We have the first potential high. Price started to stall Friday evening, and then I'd like to see a second high, a second base basically, and then coming down for a third touch in this area. And that would be then, the structure would be big enough to allow a 1-hour time frame, or which would then be visible on the 1-hour time frame for a 1-hour weighted bull flag continuation entry, a risk entry in that area. Euro yen on the weekly time frame is you can see here we are in a bullish momentum run for the 4th week in a row already. We even get more momentum towards the longer this bull run took, the more momentum we get, and we now broke above all this a bit more complex, messy price action, and we have nothing to worry here in between to the high. So therefore we are looking for a bullish continuation. I'm looking for a bigger bullish bull flag continuation in this area. We can see also price takes its time and is retesting fairly far. So in this case right now, this is the level we identified before. That was the first initial reaction where we sold off, then failed and broke above. That's basically the retest, and now we are in the next impulsive move to the upside, and we do have a small liquidity area here which is the retest of this very small high, and I'd like to see a structured flag into this liquidity area to then enter along for the next leg to the upside. Swiss francs yen on the weekly time frame, we can see here we are just playing the last leg into this high. Similar situation, we have quite a good momentum run. We are now outside all this a bit more complex structure here, and we are just looking for price to finish the last leg into this value area to the left. and I'm looking here on the 1 hour time frame for a bit smaller 1 hour bull flag continuation. I was actually looking for an entry in this area already. We did not get the third touch. Instead, price already moved out. This is a bit a bigger bull flag. Potentially, that means the one outside could be kind of a hover and could be quite small, which would then in terms of price action still make sense. So if we see Monday morning a smaller bull flag continuation during Asia session into London, then I would take a 1 hour entry for a long continuation. However, if price could even come back here one more time into this area, and then we get the bigger, similar to euro yen, a bigger bull flag continuation in this area. So is there a potential short in here? These pairs are, you can see here, the spread is wide, so I'm not really interested to do a short in here. I'm just looking for long plays in Swiss francs yen right now, at least until we tap the high. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar on the weekly time frame. We have here, we had 2 weeks of kind of undecided price action. First, it looks like we have some bullish pressure reversal, then we have no progression, and now we are again a bit in an undecided week. Going down to the 4 hour time frame, that's the third trade I took last week. That was a break even. Actually, I took this trade here on the 4 hour washout candle and then closed it early morning before swap. For me, early morning, just before swaps, because this is a 20 pip stop loss, and these pairs, and I was just like, price was hovering around break even more or less. The slippage is just massive on this pair, so I decided to close it. And then seeing the more corrective price action here on the 1 hour time frame, I did decide to not enter again right now, but you can already see what I'm looking for. We had this V-shaped recovery, and then it's a bit of corrective price action, but then we had a clear 1, 2, 3 into this liquidity area, and then a nice washout candle. Then again now a V shape coming from corrective price action makes the whole thing a bit more higher in risk. So I'm still looking for a short, but I'd like to see more price action confirmation on the lower time frame. You can see here already on the 1 hour time frame we have this clear base, so I'd like to see for price to give some preferably an impulsive break to the downside, and then a bear flag continuation in this area to enter a short again. And then as the last pair, we have NATGAS again on the list. We were looking for exactly this structure a few weeks ago already. It just took longer than anticipated initially. We did retest this low here to the left a few weeks ago. We then had the first initial impulsive move to the downside. We finished now the correction and are now looking for the next leg to the downside, going to the 4 hour time frame. That's exactly the structure we were looking for initially, into more this area here. We tapped the next higher area of interest and then had a very nice, you can see price clearly respected the structure. We did not close outside the structure and had now a very nice impulsive move. First impulsive move to the downside. So I'm now looking on the 1 hour time frame for some form of a two-touch, at least a two-touch 1 hour bear flag continuation to then enter a short in this area. Positioning is nice right now. It's a very good positioning with this very strong initial impulsive move after respecting the structure. So yeah, that's it. That's my watch list for next week. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Bye bye.